Okay, now we have just started this. We have completed the selection part, and we have just started the loops. Now we are going to study the loops. One of the very important function in the Python is what we call the range function. This is very useful function to define a range of values. This function is being used especially in the for loop. When you're writing a for loop, this function is needed. Therefore, you need to have the good understanding about this function. Now, here, which is very easy to understand, the range function defines the range of values according to the way you have passed the parameters. Now, as an example, if you define a range parameter is 5, that means it is always start by 0 and produce the 5 values. What are the 5 values? 0, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Then 0 to 4 means 5 values. That is, if you count it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It produces the 5 values starting from 0. That is why it stops at 4. Therefore, when you write range 5, it produces the value starting from 0 to 4. 0 to 4. Therefore, last value is not 5, last value is 4. Why is that? Because it starts from 0. Then 0 to 4 means 5 numbers. Just remember it. Then if you write 10 here, then it produces the value, 10 values will be produced. So the 10 values are 0 to 9. 0 to 9. Therefore, last value is not 10, last value is 9. Why? It starts from the 0. And remember, if you want to change the starting value, now here, when you just put a one single value, it always starts by 0. But if I want to change the starting value, then you can write the starting value here. Let's say here 1 and 10. That means starting value is 1. Remember, last value is not 10, last value is 9. Like this will be produced. And similarly, if you take this one, starting value is how much? 3. Starting value is 3. The last value is not 7, last value is how much? 6. 3 to 6. So those are the values it produces, not including the 7. So that way you need to understand how the range function is working. And here, remember, in general, range function incrementation is 1. Here you can see 3, 4, 5, 6, incrementation is 1. However, that incrementation or decrementation can be changed. So in this case, you can change the increments value. Here it is increment by 3. Starting value is 2, increment is 3. So the starting value is 2, increment is 3, then 2 plus 3, 5. 5 plus 3, 8. 8 plus 3, 11. 11 plus 3, 14. So here the last value is 15 means, remember last value should be 14. Therefore, it stops at 14. Similarly, this one, starting value is 9. Decrementation is minus 1. Therefore, it is decremented by 1. Therefore, it goes 9, 8, 7 like that. Last value 2 means last value is 3, not 2. That is how you use the outputs. Is that clear? How this range function is, how does it work? This range function?
Yes, sir.
Because you need to have the clear understanding about this function to understand the other parts. Then again, another set of examples are given. If you look at carefully, you should be able to understand it. Like the previously explained, just refer that one, then you can understand how it is working. Then the loops. Why are we using the loops in the program? What is the purpose of the loops? So the loops are being used because of several advantages it has. That is, when the same thing does again and again, we can minimize the program size by using the loops. So as an example, if I want to print 1 to 100, you can write like this: print 1, print 2, print 3, up to print 100. Then it will produce the output 1 to 100. But you write the program print how many times? 100 times. You run this on 100 times. But here there are 100 lines of codes to produce the 1 to 100. But you can see same outputs you can get by using 2 lines, by just using the 2 lines. So how do you do that? Now we can define the range. As you can, I have explained to you previously, the range. What is the range? The range 1 to 101. That means starting value is 1, increment by 1, goes up to 101 means it goes up to 100. So therefore, this program will produce 1 to 100. So therefore, you can see this loop will produce the same output by using 2 lines. That is why here we are saying the program size can be reduced by having a loop. Now here in the 2 loops, only 2 lines. Here how many lines? 100 lines. So then you can see it is obvious program size will be reduced having the loops. And the other thing is, it is very easy to modify or make some changes. Now let's say here I want to produce 1 to 1000. 1 to 1000. Then you have to write this on 1000 lines. But here only modification I need to do to print the 1000. I have to just modify this 101 to 1001. That's all. Then it produces the output up to 1000. It produces output up to 1000. So therefore, only small modification you can make big change. To produce the numbers 1 to 1000, only another 0 must be added here to make it 1001. Then you can see it produce 1 to 1000. But here you have to write another 900 lines to produce the output from 1 to 1000. Therefore, you can make it, you can change the things very easily. Because these loops are very important in software applications. You can see day-to-day life, you are using a lot of places these loops. Sometimes infinite loops most of the time. If you take the example like traffic light systems. So they are having the same patterns again and again, the traffic light systems. That is working in a loop. That is continuous loop. They do the same thing again and again. And again, if you take the example, the ATM machine. The ATM machine is running a loop. Whenever you go there, you have to just enter the card. And they will ask the same pattern of questions. Based on some input, the selections may be different. But the same thing will be done again and again. So they are having the infinite loops. And if you take web server, we know the web server is the application which provides the service to the clients. So in that case, they are also running continuously. Normally, web servers are not stopping. They are running infinite loops. Without stopping, the loops is running. For all the client, when they request a service, web server has to provide the services. Like there are a lot of places these loops we need to use in programming. So then just remember the advantages of the loops. So that is the same explanation. You can just read. Then initially look at the for loop. In Python, as I told you, the for loops can be developed using the this range function. What is the syntax? We need to have the for and any variable names and the in this word in is there and the range. And you can define the range of the values you want to run. And the colon is needed. And most importantly, the indentation. Remember, don't write the same line. You have to have the indentation for the body of the lines. So that must be done with the indentation. So indentation is the one which indicates what lines are inside the loop, what lines are not inside the loop, are represented by the indentation. So that is a very simple program, the syntax to write the for loops in Python. Now this is a simple example. So this is a for I in range 10. Now you know what is range 10. What are the values you get range 10? Range 10 produce the values from 0 to 9. So when you take the range 10 we know that will produce the output 0, 1, 2, like it goes up to 9. So what happened? This variable takes each value one by one. So initially I will be equal to how much? 0. And then run the loop. Run it this one. Then you take the next value of the I. I is how much? 1. And then run this one. And you take the I equals 2 and run this one. Like this word hello will be printed how many times? 0 to 9. 0 to 9 means 10 times. So So this program will produce the word hello 10 times. That is a simple if the output you get from this program. Is that clear?
Sir.
Now this is another program. Now here you can see these two lines. Remember, these two lines are inside the for loop, but this line is not inside the loop. Remember, this is not inside the loop. Why? The indentation is not there. Only these two lines are run by the for loop. This is the loop. This is the line which will be printed at the end. So in the loop, what happened? Loop goes from 0 to 3. Sorry, 0 to 2. The 3 means this will be run 3 times. What are the values you get? You get the values. Range function produce the value 0, 1, and 2. Those are the values you get for the range function. So then what happened initially, this variable I is equal to how much? 0. So then what it does, it will ask you to enter the value. And once you enter the value, that will be, we know this input function gets the inputs in string format. To convert into integer, we use int function. To convert to float, you can use a float function. Now, however, if you just want to get the numerical value, we can use the evaluation function. This also will convert into numerical value. And then you get the number here, output, and that number will be multiplied together and produce the output as a squared number. So if the user enter the number 3, that is coming as the string, this will convert to integer, and then number is equal to 3. And then this 3 will be multiplied together. Then you get 9. And then the loop goes again. They'll go to the loop and take the next value. The next value of I is how much? I is 1. Then again it asks the inputs. Then you enter the input as 5. Then produce the output 25. Then the loop is running for the next value of the I. Next value of I is how much? 2. So in that case, you say enter the 23. It will be squared here. Then 3 time is over. Loop is over. Finally, this line will be executed. So then remember, this line is not inside the loop. That is outside the loop. That is how do you identify, because it is not in the same line with the indentation. Is that clear? Yeah, this is another same example you can understand. Here, what will be the output? The output will be, this will be printed A and B. Now, this is the range function 5. That means it goes from 0 to 4. 0 to 4. Therefore, these two are inside the loop. These two are inside the loop, but this is not inside the loop. This is outside the loop. Therefore, if you run this, what is the output you get? If you run this, what is the output you get? It produced A and then B. The loop runs with C and D. So it produced the C and D how many times? That will be produced 5 times like this. Because loop is running with the C and D. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Like this. Then you get 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Finally, E. Is that clear? The output produced by this program. So the next one. This is the output is again bit different. What is output you get? So this will produce the output A and B first. And the C runs how many times? 5 times. Like this. You get the C 5 times. And the D how many times? Again 5 times. then finally E. Is that clear? The output you get. So these two lines produced A and B. That is this one. This will produce the C 5 times. This will produce the D 5 times. Finally, this is outside the loop. E is only once. This is the output you must get. This is another example. Here, the range function produced the output 0, 1, 2. Therefore, initially, I is equal to how much? 0. Did not happen, it produced I plus 1. 0 plus 1 is 1, this one. And then this one, and then this word hello will be printed. Then take the next I value. Next I value is how much? 1. Then 1 plus 1 is how much? 2. So this will be 2, and this word will be printed. The next I value is how much? 2. Then 2 plus 1, how much? 3. So it produces 3 and print this value. So this is the output you get. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
This is again a similar kind of question, but here you can see the range. Range is how much? Range is 5, 0, minus 1. Start by 5, reduce by 1, 4, then the 3, then the 2, then the last value is not 0, last value is 1. So those are the values it takes. Therefore, initially I is how much? 5. So then it prints the 5 here, that is this one. And ND equals empty means it keeps the spacing. Here this is spacing will be there. So that is space will be placed here. The outputs come in the horizontally. If you don't put this one, outputs come vertically. That is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 vertically comes. But because of this, outputs come horizontally by keeping this space here. And the next value is I is how much? Next I is how much? 4. So then it produces 4. Next value is 3. Next value is 2. Next value is 1. And finally it print this one. That is this one coming here. That is how you get the output. Is it clear? Yeah, if you want to keep the line after that one, just remove this. Then the outputs come vertically, like in the previous example. If you want to get the output like this, just write like this without keeping the end. When you put the end equals something, it will be produced within the output in the same line. The purpose of this end equals empty to keep the gaps and produce the output vertically, sorry, horizontally. To produce the output horizontally like this, and it keeps that gap. Otherwise, this will be produced vertically. Vertically means you get the 5 and then the 4 and then the 3 and then the 2 and then the 1 like that. That is changed because of this end equals empty. Now remember, you can work with this for loop not using the range function, but you can work with the strings also. Now, if you look at this example, in this example, I'm not using the range function, but here we are using just a string. Yes, a string. So here we have a string S, string S. These are the characters in the string. So you write the 4I in S. S means this S. Did not happen. This I is getting each value 1 by 1. So initially I gets the string first index number, 0th one. So then you get 0th value is first character. The first character is I is how much? The first character is A. So then it produced the first value is A and next value is end equal space. End equal space like this. So it takes each character one by one. So if you take the strings, remember you can produce the output like that. So if you take the so you can create a string like this. And you can write the for I in S. Print I. So you can see it prints each character one by one. A, B, C, D. Vertically. But if you want to output horizontally, you can write print S, sorry, print I. Then you can see it produced vertically, sorry, horizontally. That is purpose of the end. So remember, each character in the strings can be accessed using the for loop without using the range function. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Now, if you look at this example, here what happened, we are taking the, yeah, I'll explain this example, just think. Now here we take the length of this. Length of this. What's the length? That is how many characters. How many characters are here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Therefore, this will get the range 6. Length of this one is that. Therefore, you get which one? You get the length is 6. That means range 6. Just like we are writing the range 6. Then we know range 6 is how much? Range 6 means 0 to 5. You get the 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. So then the length S means length of this string. That is how much? 6 characters. That is 6. Therefore, range 6. Range 6 means 0 to 5. Then I is equal to initially how much? 0. I is initially how much? 0. Then what you do? We take the S0. S0. What is S0? S0 means 0th index number. That means the string S, 0th index number is A. You take the A and multiply what? Multiply with how much? This is 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. Therefore, A multiplied by 1A, just get the A. And take the next value of the I in the for loop. That is I is 1. Then the S1. S1 means the next character, B. B multiply 1 plus 1, 2. Therefore, B multiplied by 2, B is repeated twice, like this. And next I value is how much? 2. Then you get S2. S2 means 0, 1, 2. C. C multiplied by 2 plus 1, 3. Therefore, C multiplied by 3. Then the C repeated 3 times. Because you have learned the strings can be multiplied by a number, that string will be repeated a number of times. So this is the output you get here. Is that okay?
Sir, can you explain it one more time?
Yeah, basically what happened here in the range function, for the range function, we are passing the length. Length function is to go to get the length. Remember, this length function is used to get the length. So here the length is how much? Length of S. That is how much the length of this one. That is, this one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 characters. 6 characters. Therefore, this will give the output as 6. That is same as range 6. Now, what is the range 6? What is the range 6? Range 6 means 0 to 5. 0 to 5. Range 6 means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. That is range 6. Now, in the for loop, it takes each value one by one. Initially, I equals to how much? 0. Then it gets a S0. S means what? Is string, this one. 0th index means A. Then you take the A. Then the A multiplied by how many times? I is how much? 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. Therefore, this one is A. A multiplied by 1 means A. Just A. Then the next I is how much? Next I is 1. Then the S1. S1 means next character. Next character is which one? B. Then B multiply 1 plus 1 how much? 2. Then the B into 2, that means B multiply 2 means B repeated twice. And the next I is how much? 2. That is S2. The next value, next character, C. C multiply 2 plus 1, 3. That means C multiply 3 means it is repeated 3 times. Like that, it goes up to 5. 5 means F is repeated 5 times. Is that clear?
Sir, clear, sir.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thanks. Now, remember, this can be done for the other data structures. Now, that is for the previous one is for the string. This for the string. Now, this can be done for the other data structures. Now, later we'll discuss another data structure called as a list, where you have the list of values. In the same manner, you can use the, instead of the string, you can have a list here. Then what happen? It will take each character, each item one by one. So the first item is 1, and next one is 2, next one is 3, next one is 4, next one is 5. Each one will be printed by having the spacing of this one. So therefore, each value will be printed with this spacing. Therefore, remember it works with the list also. And again, there's another data structure, which is we'll discuss later. That is equal as a tuple. This is a tuple. The tuple can be described like this. That's a tuple. So in a tuple, what happened? Each character can be accessed one by one, the tuple. So in that case, remember, in a tuple, here you get the T means tuple here. We access to each character one by one. So, and keep this spacing. So this will print each character one by one like this, and you get the spaces like this. So that is another data structure called the tuple. And there's another data structure we call as a set. Now remember, these curly brackets are is used to represent the set, and as well as we'll discuss another data structure called the dictionary. So at the moment, just remember we have this curly brackets. It's a set, because in a dictionary 2 values are there. When you are discussing that one, I'll explain the dictionary. Remember, these curly brackets are used to represent the set here. It's a set. We know in a set, same number cannot be repeated. So just like that, you can write set here, and the way it is working same as a string. Each element can be accessed using the for loop. So then you can see the range function is not necessary here. Is that clear?
Sir.
These data structures we'll discuss in the next time. That is a list, tuple, sets, dictionary. Those will be discussed. Okay, now this is very simple program. What it does, it will ask the user to enter the 10 numbers. Then how do I design the 10 numbers? Because here you can see range 10. Range 10 means it goes 0 to 9. It goes 0 to 9 means this code will be executed 10 times. 10 times. Like then you can use this range function to decide how many times you want to run the program. When you have the range 10, it runs 10 times. So in this case, these 3 lines will be executed 10 times. So that means what is done by this program, it will ask user to input a number, and that will be converted to integer. And if it is greater than 10, the number of counter will be incremented. So basically, what is this program? This program is to enter the 10 numbers and then count how many numbers are larger than 10. When you enter the numbers, we want to count how many numbers are larger than 10. For that, this counter is maintained. Whenever you found a number, if that number is larger than 10, the count will be incremented. This is how you can use the count. There are many places we need to use this count. Yeah, you can use the int, doesn't matter. Even you can replace this one by int, integer. That's okay. So then remember this program, what is the purpose? The purpose is to enter the 10 numbers and count how many numbers are larger than 10. That's the purpose. So this is another program. So can you tell me what is the purpose of this program? Because most of the time, now exam paper, they will give you the flow chart or pseudocode and ask what is the purpose. Can you tell me this program takes how many inputs? How many inputs it takes? 10. Why? How do I decide it? You can see this is the place you are taking the input. And this line will be executed how many times? Range 10 times. Therefore, this program takes 10 inputs. 10 inputs. And once you taken the 10 inputs, what is the result? What does it produce as output? What is the purpose of count 1 and count 2? Because this kind of codes, sometimes you may need to write, or sometimes they have given the flow chart and ask what is the purpose. So here, what's the purpose? We know one thing is, it will take the 10 inputs. It will read the 10 inputs. It will ask user to enter the 10 numbers. And then count 1 is, what is the purpose of the count 1? Count 1 is to count how many numbers are larger than 10. Now you enter the 10 numbers. Out of that 10 numbers, how many of them are larger than 10? And the other one is to find out how many numbers are equal to 0. Now you enter the 10 numbers. We want to find out how many of them are 0. That's the purpose. Is that clear? So this program, you can see it takes the numbers or inputs. 1 to how much? It goes from 1 to 101 means I goes from 1 to 100. Therefore, this program will execute 100 times. The body will be executed 100 times. Then, what is the purpose of this one? What is this one? Because we know we complete the bracket first. What is that one? 2 stars. What is it? What is that notation? I is 2 is 10 and 2. In Python, what is the purpose of the 2 stars? Power, yes, to get the power. That means it takes the I squared. I squared. Therefore, this I goes from 1 to 100. Therefore, this produce, which calculates I squared to 100 squared. And what is this notation? Percentage sign, what is that one? Modulus, remainder. That means you calculate the I squared and divide by 2, get the remainder. Get the remainder. And check whether the remainder is equal to how much? 4. If the remainder is equal to 4, this count will be incremented. That means this purpose of the program. What is the purpose of the program? To get the squared numbers 1 to 100 squared. And we are going to find out how many of them are ended by 4. Ended by 4. Because if it is ended by 4, when you divide by 10, remainder will be equal to 4 if it is ended by 4. Is that clear? So that program is to calculate how many numbers are ended by 4 when you take the squared numbers from 1 to 100. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
So this is another very simple program just to calculate the sum. Just to calculate the sum. From where to where? Now ended by 4 means now here which is produce 1 square, 2 square like that. So we want to find out what numbers are entered by 4 actually when you take the squared number. Now if you take the example 80 square, 64. Now 64 divided by 10. What's the remainder? What's the remainder? Remainder is equal to 4. Then that is identified as a number ended by 4. Is that clear? That's a squared number which is ended by 4. Now, what is this program? What will be produced? What is the output? Now, range 1 to 101 means it goes from 1 to 100 because 101 is not coming. It goes from 1 to 100. And then you maintain the variable called as a sum. We have a variable called as a sum. For that one, for this one, we add the each I value. I initially see 1 and next value is 2. That will be added to this. At the end, this S is representing the total of the numbers you have entered. That means 1 to 100. So basically this S will be equal to which one? Initially S will be equal to 1. Then S will be equal to 2. Then S will be equal to 3. Like it does the addition up to how much? 100. At the end, S is producing that output, 1 to 100. Is that clear? Okay, this program, again, same as the previous one. But the previous one just take the 1 to 100. But here, user can enter any 10 numbers. User can enter any 10 numbers and they are converted to integer. And that is stored as a num that is added to the variable s. Therefore, in this case, user will enter the 10 numbers and 10 numbers will be added and save as s. And when the S is divided by 10, you can get the average value of the total numbers you have entered. This program is to calculate the total of the numbers you have entered and calculate the average of the that numbers you have entered. That's the purpose. Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Which one you want to explain? Yeah, this program, what it does, which is running the range 10. Range 10 means this will be run 10 times. This will be run 10 times. So then what happened? Each round you ask the user to enter the number. When the user enter the number, that number is stored in integer format because this evaluation function convert in integer. Otherwise it will be string. Input always take the input as a string. So these to convert into integer. Then you get the integer value. And then that number you entered is added to the variable s. S is initially 0. For that variable, you add in the input number. At the end, this s is having the total that you have entered. So s will be recording all the numbers you have entered. Then the sum is equal to this. Then when that total divide by 10, because I entered the 10 numbers, and this s is represent the total that you have entered. All the numbers, 10 numbers you have entered, total will be stored in the s. And then you divide this by 10, then you get how much average. Is it clear? So basically this will be running 10 times and take the 10 inputs, and each inputs you have entered stored into this, and S is adding each number one by one. Then the S is recording all the numbers you have entered, and the total will be saved in the S. And the total divided by 10 will be the average. Basically to enter the 10 numbers. And when the user enters 10 numbers, each number you have entered should be saved somewhere. Where are we saving this? In the variable S. S is adding up each number you have entered. And finally, S contains the total of the numbers you have entered. And when you divide by 10, you get the average value. That's the purpose. Is that okay? This prime number, I'll come to this one later once you've done the what we call the break command. Now, this is again one of the very important solution where we want to find out the when you enter some numbers, we want to find out which number is the largest. Which number is the largest. Now, in this program, what happened? Can you tell me how many inputs this program is taking? How many inputs it takes? Is it 9? Is it 10? That's what we have to carefully identify. Is this program is taking 9 inputs or 10 inputs?
Nine inputs.
Only 9? Yeah, this range function, that's okay. Range function run 9 times. It takes 9 inputs. Then how about this one? So for loop takes 9 inputs, but before come to the for loop, you take another input. Therefore, altogether it takes how many inputs? 10 inputs. Is that clear? So then remember, this program is to get the 10 numbers and then find out the largest number you have entered. The largest number you have entered. So for that purpose, we take the first number. First number you have entered. Now as an example, the first number you have entered as an example, let's see you enter the 45 first number. Your first number you entered is 45. Then what happened? This variable largest. Here we have the variable called as the largest. That variable largest will point to that one. Largest will point to that one. We have variable called as the largest. So this largest will point to this. Largest will equal to this one. Is that clear? That's the purpose of the first line, this one. When you enter the first number is taken and first number is identified as the largest number. Then what happened? Then we go to the for loop. Then you say input another number. Here you say input another number, second number. Yeah, second number, you say input the second number. Second number saved as num. Then you, let's say you enter another number. Let's say you enter another number 87. So then what happened? That is equal to the num. Then we create another variable num that is equal to which one? That is equal to which one? That is equal to 87. That is equal to 87. Yeah, that can be done. That can be done. Not range 11. It should be range 10. Because we are running only 10, we are getting only 10 inputs. But why we are taking these inputs separately? Why we are taking one number outside, one number inside the loop? Yeah, we can take like that. So here basically purpose is to assign the first number as the largest number, and then you can take the second number. But if you do like that, second number will be taken again in the same line. That is the purpose. Yeah. So we take the first number and select as the largest. We enter the second number, and that is what this variable num is pointing. Then you look at, then you compare this number and the largest variables. Then you compare between these two will be compared. We compare these two and find out who is the largest. Who is the largest? If the number is largest, if this one is largest, what happened? This pointer will be deleted. And the largest will point you to this one. That is the purpose of this line. That is the purpose of this line. Is that clear? Then what happened? Then the largest is equal to which one? 87. 87. And then what happened? Then you go to the for loop again. Take the next input. Next input. Now the largest is 87. Then you take the next input. Let's say next input is 100. Then what happened? This variable num. The variable num will be equal to which one? 100. That will be equal to 100. Not this one. Not this one. Now this number is 200. Then you compare, is the number is larger than the largest. Now largest is how much? Now largest is 87. Now number is how much? 100. Then this condition is satisfied. That means number is large. So in that case, what happened? This variable largest will be pointed to this one. Like this, it continues. What happened at the end? This largest is pointing to which one? Largest number. That way you can find out what is the largest number you have entered. Is that clear? Okay, then we just come to the next loop. Next loop is which one? That is the while loop. In the while loop, we don't need to use a range function, but we need to have the condition. Until this, while this condition is true, this body will be executed. Body will be executed. Then what is the syntax? Use the word while, simple letters, condition, and the colon. And write with indentation. Write with indentation. So those are the syntax you need to follow. Yeah, previous one again. Yeah, this program actually to decide the largest number when the user enter the set of numbers actually. When the user enter the set of numbers, this program is to find out which one is the largest. So when the user enter the first number is stored as largest. Because it is, how does it take the 10 numbers? Here takes 1 input. Here it takes 9 inputs. Then 9 plus 1 is 10. Altogether 10 inputs. So basically, now if you write the program, so what do they do? We create a variable called as the largest. And you can assign that value to, you can ask enter a number. Now the first number entered will be considered as the largest number. First number entered we call as the largest number. Then we run the for loop. For I in range range 9. Range 9. That means you are running that one 9 times. Sorry. You are running that one 9 times. The loop runs 9 times. But first inputs already taken. Then you take another number which is, I just take as n. And then again convert it to integer. Input. And you can say the number. And that number you have entered, we check whether that number entered if n is larger than, if the n is larger than the largest, if that is the case, if the n is larger than the largest, then you update the largest is equal to which one? Largest is equal to the n. And then after loop finished, we can print the largest number is S largest. So this is the program which will take certain numbers and find out the largest. Now, if I just save this, .py is the extension. Then you enter the number, let's say 56, 67, 23, 45, 78, 567. You can see it, find the largest number. That's the purpose, is to find the largest number. Then how does it, now you can see how many inputs it takes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. It takes 10 numbers and find out which one is largest. Which one is largest? So that program objective is to find out the largest number. When the user enter the numbers, we want to find out which one is the largest. That's the purpose of this program. When the user enter the number, now here what happened when the user enter the number, now user enter the first number. User enter the first number. What is the first number? User enter the 56. Then you can see this 56 is the largest. This pointer largest will point to the 56 as the largest. And you enter the second number. Second number is which one? N. Then N is equal to how much? 67. Then you compare N and largest. Largest is how much? 57. 56. N is how much? 67. When you compare that one, what happened? N is large. N is larger than 56. Therefore, we update the largest as how much? 67. Then you set the largest as this one. Then you go to the loop. Then you have to go back to the loop. Take the next number. Take the next number. Yeah, I will share this link. If you are, that's okay. I will share the recording, you can view if you are having some problem. So then you take the next input. Next input is how much? Next input is N. N is how much? Next input value is how much? 23. Then you compare 23 and the 67. What happened? 23 is less. Therefore, this will not be updated. Then you take the next input 10. Next input is how much? 45. Then you compare 45 and the 67. 45 is less. Then not change. Then you take the next input. Next input is how much? 78. So 78 is here. Now the 78 is N. Now 78 is larger than 67. Therefore, largest will be how much? 78. Like this to continue. Then it identify this number as the largest. That is why it produces output as this one as the largest. Is that clear? Is that okay? Yeah, basically what it does, it takes each input numbers and create a variable called as a largest. And largest one is pointing to the largest value. So initially, the largest is equal to the 56. So basically, we have the variable called as the largest, which is initially pointing to which one? 56. And the number you entered is 67. Then you compare 56 and 67. Then you identify 67 is large. Therefore, you create the pointer to this one. largest as this, and this will be deleted. Automatically deletes. Then you take the next one, 23. 23 is not larger than 67, so no updates. Next one is 45. 45 is not larger than 67, no updates. Next one is 78. Now you can see 78 is larger than 67. Then you identify he is the largest, and this will be removed. And next one, 12. 12 is small. Next one, 57, 567. So 567 is larger than 78. Therefore, this will largest is pointed to this. Then after that, you can see you don't get any number larger than this number. So this one is largest. That's all. That is how it works. Okay, then we just come to the next important loop, while loop. This is also will be used in the most of the places. Now, in the while loop, what is the syntax? Use the keyword while and the condition and the colon. And remember the statements, the body should be written with the indentation. Don't write the same line. So that indicates what lines are executed by the while loop. That indicates these lines are the body of the while loop. That will be executed by the loop. So if you take this program, we know this program, range 10, range 10. Range 10 means 0 to 9, 0 to 9. Here the output will be, this will produce the output 0 to 9. And this is same code, which produces same output. Why? I is initially 0. I 0. 0 less than 10, yes, condition is true. Print 0. Then the I will be incremented. Then I is 1. Then you go to the loop. I is 1. 1 less than 0, yes, produce the 1. I is incremented 2. Then you go here. 2 less than 10, yes, print the 2. Similarly, remember this program output and this program output both are same. What does it produce? 0 to 9. What is produced by this one? 0 to 9. Therefore, both programs are producing the same output, 0 to 9. Because when it is 9, this condition is true. When it is 10, this condition is false. Is that clear? When this is 9, condition is true. When this is 10, condition is false. Therefore, 10 will not be printed. So both program produces the same, they are producing the same output. Is that clear? Now, infinite loops. Now, remember, some instance when you are writing this program, you won't have an infinite loop. Infinite loop means the loop runs without stopping. Infinite loops, where the program must be running always without stopping. Now, to do that, you can have the conditions like this. Here, I is how much? 0. Then you put the 0. 0 less than 10. Yes, condition is true. Condition is true means this will be executed. Print I and go back. What is I? I is still 0. 0 less than 10, condition is true. Run this one. Go back. What is I? I is 0. 0 less than 10, condition is true. Run this one. And again go back. Like it is never-ending loops. It's a never-ending loop. However, you can create a never-ending loop by just writing true here. Keyword true in the Boolean type. So this also producing a loop which is never-ending loop. Is that okay? Now, if you take the example, we just take example in the while loop. So if you write a simple program in the while loop, so we just create a variable I is equal to 1, and while, and the condition I less than or equal 10, and the colon, just say print I, and I will be incremented. I plus 1. So this will produce the value I equals 1, and condition is I less than equal 10. So it run 10 times, print the values, and here I is incremented by 1. So if I just save this, and if I just run this one, you can see it produce the value 1 to 10. 1 to 10. However, if I take this line here, what happened? What will be printed?
Two.
Only thing is I equal I plus 1 is written with the without indentation. What happened when you write like this? Do I get the same output 1 to 10 or different output? What is the output you get? That's the question. Yeah, it is different. I'm asking what is the answer? Only one. Yeah, it is 1. How many times? Yeah, output is 1 because output should be 1, but I'm asking how many times? Why is the 10 times? Only once? So when I write like this without indentation, what happened? Without indentation, what happened? Now, when you take this one here, what's the problem? Remember, then this line is not a part of the while loop. That is outside the while loop. I equals 1, I less than 10, 1 less than the condition is true, print this one. And go back to the loop again. Now, what is the I? What is the I? Is the I incremented? Because I equal I plus 1 is not inside the loop. I equal I plus 1 is now outside the loop. So if the I is not incremented, what happened? I is still 1. 1 less than 10 condition is true, run this one and go back. What is I? I is 1. So what do you get? Infinite loop. Yes, you get infinite loop. If you run this one, you get infinite loop. Never ending loop. It runs the output without stopping. You can see this running without stopping. 1, 1, 1 is running. Never ending loop. It is not stopped. But you can stop by the control C or control Z. You can interrupt it by using the control C or control Z. Otherwise, it's a never ending loop. You can see small change. Small change. So if I make the indentation again, you can see it works fine. Because then that is a part of the loop. Then it produces 1 to 10. No, it is not stop at 11 because variable I is not incremented. I is not incremented. Here when you write like this, I will be incremented. Here what happened? I is 1. check the condition 1 less than 10, okay, print the 1, and then I is 2, I is incremented. Because now it is part of the loop. And when you are going back to the condition, I is how much 2? But when you write this one without indentation, this is not a part of the loop. Is that clear? Now, this is another very important one. Again, you need to understand this very clearly. Most of the time, the exam, this also will be tested. Whether you know the purpose of the break statement. Break statement. What is the break statement? Break statement is to break the loop. Break the loop. That is, we want to break the loop some instance without completing the loop. Now, this is very useful in exam, in the exam paper. Most of the time, they will ask to write the program something like this. They ask to write a program. You need to run this program until user input -1 or until user input some negative number. So in that case, we don't know how many times you're going to run it. Exactly, we don't know. Now, if it is 10 times, you can use a range function. We know exactly we are running 10 times. But if they are saying, okay, run this program until you enter the -1, or run this program until you enter the negative number. When this happens, you have to stop it. So in this kind of things very easily can be implemented using this break statement. Now, as an example, we can write a very simple program. Either you can use a while loop with infinite loop. Now we know in the while loop, as I told you earlier, when you write the true, when you write as a true, it's an infinite loop. If I just say print I, so it is printed again and again. So I just write I plus 1, sorry, I equals I plus 1. Now here I is incremented, and it is what loop? Infinite loop, never-ending loop. Because I am saying the condition is true always. It's a never-ending loop. So in this case, the program runs without stopping. So I had to give the initial value for the I. I is 1. You can see it's a never-ending loop. It runs without stopping. So that is how you can create a never-ending loop. So until you purposely stop it, it runs again and again. So then you can stop it by running the Control Z or Control C until it runs. That's a never-ending loop. Now this is very important in the exam paper. So you'll be asking to get some input from the user. Maybe some number, something you want to get the inputs. So in that case, you can write like this, like you can write enter the number. You can get the input. Now in this case, we don't specify how many numbers you're going to enter. We just say input a number n, and that number entered will be saved as n. And then what do you do? If n is equal to, condition you can write, if the n is equal to -1, then n is equal to -1, you will say break. Break means loop is broken. When are you going to break it? If the user enter the -1. You can, if you want, you can, the loop will be ended there actually. Loop will be ended there. If the user does not enter the -1, it runs. It runs again and again. So it runs until you enter the -1. So if you run this program, you can get many inputs. Now you enter the number. Let's say first number is 78. Next number 45. Next number some other values. Like you can enter any numbers. Here the loop, we don't know how many times we are going to run. You can enter any numbers, it runs again and again. It is not stopping. However, when you put the -1, it will be terminated, ended. So that kind of programs you need to write. So this is the very easy way to write it. Use the break statement. Break statement. When a specific value is entered, you are going to break the loop. That is the purpose of the break. Is that clear? The purpose of the break statement? Or you can make it until you enter the negative value. So in the same program, you can just modify. If the user enter the negative value, you want to stop it. In this case, you can write if the user enter the less than 0, you stop the program until it runs. While you enter the positive numbers, it runs. Here you can enter positive numbers. While you enter the positive numbers, it is working. But we don't know how many times you are going to run the loop. However, if you put a minus value, it will be ended. Program will be ended. So then, very easily you can implement it. Just saying that if the user enter the negative number, here we are indicating, if the user enter the negative number, stop it, break it. That is the purpose of the break. This is very useful in exam paper question, especially essay type questions. Because you want to run the program until you say input a specific value. Then you can break it. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
That's another example where you can use a break. You can just go through that. Now there's another one which is also you should familiar with, especially some MCQ questions and some essay type question. We didn't find it, but especially some MCQ question. This was there. Continue. Continue. Now, what's the purpose of the continue? Remember, continue means when you use a continue, the rest of the lines will not be executed in the loop. It will continue with the next value of the loop. Now, as an example, this is what happened. When you say continue, what happened? Now, this is the loop. When you say continue, it doesn't run the rest of the lines. It doesn't run the rest of the line. It will continue with the loop, next value of the loop. Now, we just take the example to understand. Now here, yeah, we can have the same code. not the say I less than or equal 10. I equals 1. Now you enter the value and loop run 10 times. You get input. You get input. And you just say if n is if the n is equal to 5, then you just say continue. Continue. And here we have the print I. We just multiply I and I. Same number will multiply for the numbers. Now, what is the purpose of the continue? Remember, the purpose of the continue is when that condition is occurred, when this condition is occurred, when this condition is true, when you say continue, it doesn't run the rest of the lines. It doesn't run the rest of the lines. Instead, it goes to the loop again, starting with the next value. Starting the next value. So that is the purpose. So then remember, when you have the continue, what it does, it doesn't continue the rest of the lines, but it continues the loop. Now, if you run this one, yes. Now you enter the number, let's say 35, then it prints the value. You can see when I enter the 5, then it doesn't print the value. When I press the enter 5, it doesn't do the squad. Now this is a squad of the number. That is 2 squad, 9 squad, 16 squad. So we can make the squad of not I. Then you can understand this easily. We can take the n squad here. We enter the n, that will produce n squad. Now it will ask you to enter the number. Let's say you enter the number 3. Then it produces squad, 3 squad. Then you enter the number 5. It produces 5 squad. Sorry, 5 is not printed. But if I enter the 6, it produces 6 squad. If I enter the 2, it produces 2 squad. If I enter the 8, it produces 8 squad. But you can see what happened when I enter the 5. When I enter the 5, it doesn't print the 5 squad. It doesn't print the 5 squad. But other numbers, it prints the squad. Why is that? Why is that? Why it is not printed the 5 squad? The reason is in the program here I'm saying if the value is 5 you have entered, continue. Continue means it continues the loop. It doesn't run the rest of the lines. That means the squad in C will not be printed. That's the reason. So the purpose of the continue is to skip the rest of the lines. Skip the rest of the lines. And the loop will be continued. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Others, are you okay? So that is the purpose of the. Now, let's say you are given this program, write a Python program to the following flowcharts. Now, most recently, last 3 years, remember, past papers, they gave the flow chart and asked to write the corresponding Python code and the pseudocodes. So how do you write the Python program this? In this program, you need to identify whether you have the selection, whether you have the loop, and then you have to write it. So I just give you the few minutes. Can you just think how to write it, whether you can write the code, Python code? Yeah, I think some of you have written the answer. Yeah, how do you do it? Now you need to identify clearly what are these. Now this one is the loop or is it a selection? What is that one? If it is yes, one path. If it is no, another path. Remember, then it is not a loop. It's a selection. Then this one is what happened. If it is yes, it rotates. Then you should understand it's a loop. So there you need to use a loop. That is how you decide it. The second one is a loop. First one is a selection. So then how do you write the corresponding Python code? So initially, you need to take the input. This is the input you are taking in, convert into integer. And then you set the value of this fact, which is equal to 1. And then there's a small thing I will explain what is the purpose of this line. And then you check whether n is equal to 0. If the n is equal to 0, you just set fact is equal to 1. This one. Fact is equal to 1. Else means, that means what happened else, there what happened, you go to the condition is false, then you come to the loop. Here you can have the loop until n is not equal to 0. Not equal to 0. That is what here. N is not equal to 0. While it is not equal to 0, we have to multiply this and do the subtraction and print the value. Is that clear?
Yes, sir.
Then can you tell me what's the purpose of this one? Why do I write that one here? What is the purpose? So the purpose is, now we are saying when the user enter the number, this program is to calculate the factorial value. Factorial value. So this factorial number calculation is a very famous one because there were one past paper. In one past paper, they asked to calculate this factorial number. What is the purpose? What is the meaning of the factorial value? The factorial value means when the user enter, let's say you enter the number n equals 5. N equals 5. Then the factorial value means, what is the factorial value? Factorial is equal to 5 multiplied by 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 multiplied by 1. This is the factorial value. That means it is equal to 5 into 4, 20, 20 into 3, 60, 60 into 120. So program must produce the output as 120. That's a factorial. If the user enter the n equals, as an example, if the user enter the n equals, let's say 4, if the n is 4, then the factorial value is how much? The factorial is equal to 4 multiplied by 3 multiplied by 2 into 1. That means 4 into 3, 12. 12 into 2, 24. That is the meaning of the factorial. So this program objective is to find out the factorial value. So in that case, if the number you entered is 0, remember the factorial 0 is 1. That is why here we check whether user input number is 0. If it is 0, factorial is 1. But if the user enter larger than 0, just like 5, if the user enter the 5, then what happen? This initially how the fact is 1. When you enter the 5, 5 is multiplied by 1. And then reduce each value by 1. Why? We have to multiply 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. So until you get 1, until it is not equal to 0, we need to reduce this value until it is not equal to 0 and multiply them together. So this is the place where you do that task multiplication. Now this program, remember, objective is to produce the factorial value. Factorial value. So then what I want to explain here is that here we reduce the n by 1. At the end, this n will be equal to, when the loop is over, n will be equal to how much? 0. So then if I write n here, it says factorial 0. Factorial 0. That is wrong. Now, if the user enter the n equals 5, this m is equal to 5. Then it says factorial 5 is equal to how much? This one. Because you can't put the n, at the beginning you have given the n, but in the loop n is 0. In that case, if you put n here, it produces the output as factorial 0 is this much. But it is not 0, you enter some number. Let's say if it is 5, that 5 is saved in the m. And then you write that one here. Then it says factorial 5 is this much. That's the purpose. Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Clear, sir.
No. They are not saying fact means factorial. You need to understand the code. They are not saying the factorial. Now in the exam paper, that paper, they didn't give you any flowchart or anything. You need to do it by yourself. Yeah, we can't use n, because if you use n, now at this point, you say enter the n is 5. Now let's say here 5. N is equal to 5. But when you come to the loop here, when you run this loop, at the end, the n is how much? 0. When the n is 0, this loop is ended. That means n is 0. If you put n here, this will be always 0, not 5. Then you will say factorial 0 is this much, 100. That is wrong. We want to get the initially entered value. Initial entered value is 5. That will be saved in here. And that will be taken here as it is without reducing. Is that okay?
Yes, sir.
Now, if you want to get this kind of output, how do I write a while loop or any loop? So that can be done very easily. You need to find the starting point, end point, and incrementation. So if you want to get this output, you can easily write the loop. Either for loop or while loop can be used. If it is a for loop, you can use a range 2 to 101, increment by 2. If it is a while loop, I start by 2, continue up to less than equal 100, and I is increment by 2. So both ways you can write the answer. Is that clear? Is it clear?
Yes, sir.
Now remember, these Python questions are not difficult. You have to understand the logic. Then you can do easily, you can write the answers. This one, how do I write it? It is printed the squared value. 1 is squared, 2 is squared, 3 is squared, 110 is squared. How do I write a loop to get this output? So that can be done again easily like this. Squad means same number you have to multiply. A range function 111 means it goes 1 to 10. So first is produced in the I squad, 1 squad, 2 squad, 3 squad, 4 squad, like that. It produces the squad value. The same, both programs are producing the same thing. First one is using for loop, second one is using while loop.